Hello, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. Hope you all can hear me properly. Um, if you can, let me know. Let's see what do we got here. All right, so very happy you could all be here. I am solo tonight, so if there are any glitches, just be patient. But I hope you all understood the assignment and brought your mashed potatoes with you. So I have my mashed potatoes and my prototype for the Taters Hate Traitors spoon that goes with said mashed potatoes. So the props are in place. Now let's get down to the serious business of answering your questions. Um so I've been I posted on my Substack earlier, and I know a lot of people are feeling a little bit ambivalent about this holiday. I mean, a lot of us feel ambivalent about it for historical reasons. Um, in some ways, Thanksgiving in the United States is sort of like Colum- Columbus Day, which I sincerely hope Columbus Day becomes a thing of the past. I don't know if it's quite as straightforward with Thanksgiving, but anyway, other than the historical reasons, um, yeah, it's kind of a. I think we all thought we were going to be in a very different place this Thanksgiving, but we're not. So, given that, I thought it would be worth checking in with you all. And excuse me, I am a little sleepy because it's been chilly here in New York City, and I had to turn the heat on, which hasn't happened in a while. So, it's making me sleepy and dehydrated. Anyway, um, so what I was saying, yes, a lot of people are not quite sure what to what to make of this holiday of giving thanks. Now, obviously, like we all have the same things to be thankful for that we did before the election. And hopefully everybody has at least one or two of those things. But yeah, the context is a little rough to adjust to. Not entirely sure. Or I'm not entirely sure we should adjust, but we've got to deal with it somehow, right? Acclimate, maybe. Um, I'm seeing a couple of quick questions. Yes, I am on Blue Sky. It's this. I believe it's the same as my Twitter handle, and I did not see the parade. I'm not a parade person at all. However, I felt bad. I don't know. I don't even know when the parade is, but it was raining and awful today. So I hope it didn't interfere with other people's enjoyment of the uh parade, which I know for a lot of people is a highlight. All right, I'm going to dive into your questions. Again, I got some of them from my Substack, and I got some of them from you, those of you who joined a little bit, excuse me, joined the thread a little early. So again, though, I'll still take some questions from. Oh, hello from Syracuse. I lived in Syracuse very briefly when I was in college, or I should say, between I dropped out of college for a bit, so I worked in Syracuse for a little while. Anyway, you can still drop some questions here. Um, and here we go. Oh, look, this is the sort of in line with what I was talking about from River Coast Jane. Why can it sometimes feel bad to feel joy on a holiday? Well, for a holiday like Thanksgiving, it's sort of historically fraught, and Native Americans have nothing to celebrate on 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 this holiday. But I think it's, you know, it's for many people, it's become the celebration has become very detached from its original meaning. For many people, it's really just about getting together with your family or your friends or your family of choice, and being thankful. Just like Christmas, and for many people has become detached from. I don't think there. I don't think there. And there's an overwhelming majority of people who celebrate Christmas as Jesus Christ's birthday. Christmas is actually my favorite holiday, and I'm not Christian. So there you go. So anyway, there's the historical implications of Thanksgiving, but I think because things are really tough for a lot of people right now, I don't think anybody you should never feel bad about feeling joy, right? Unless it's at other people's expenses, right? The fact that some of you are having a great holiday with a lot of awesome people, and you don't have to, you didn't get disinvited, or you didn't have to cancel Thanksgiving because you have so many MAGA people in your lives. Like, there's nothing to feel bad about. Like, your suffering wouldn't make anybody else feel any better. You know what I mean? So, and also feeling joy is a wonderful thing. It seems to be in a little bit of short supply these days. So when you can, please do. And it's just going to make you stronger for what's ahead. So please never feel bad or feel guilty about having joy in your lives on a holiday. From Rick, what's your advice to any member who cuts off a Donald supporting family member from their life? Well, I mean, my advice, I don't know what the advice is. That what I would say is good for you. Um, I think there was a time after 2016 and maybe even after 2020 when you could say, well, they just didn't know or who he really was, or um they don't understand the implications of all of the other stuff. I think after the big lie, and certainly after January 6th, 2021, nope. And not after another 4 years of everything he's done. So I literally can't imagine a situation in which I would hang out with anybody who voted for Donald. So I think if there's any advice to give, it's if you ever want to have a relationship with those people, there have to be very, very, very clear boundaries. But we now know what those people represent. So that's the tricky part. It's sort of what you're willing to put up with. And I think it's fair to make a sort of a calculation about, what is the good versus the bad that person brings in your life. I think that's fair. But I think it is worth remembering that I mean, I could be wrong, because I haven't lived forever, but, never in my lifetime did, who one voted for determine whether or not you were gonna be able to have a relationship with them. It's really yeah, I think that's one of those things that just kind of gets, quote, unquote, "baked in." I think we need to just remember how frigging extraordinary and horrifying it is. So there's that. From Chestnut 127. Hey Mary, did you ever eat at the Triangle Hofbrau on 117th Street and Jamaica Avenue? I didn't like German food, but my mom dragged us there. Um, yeah, we never ate German food either, despite the fact that my great grandparents were German. And no, I never ate there. One, because again, we didn't really do German food, and secondly, because I think that was Richmond Hill, so I was a little far afield. When I was little, like, we didn't really go too far west of 164th Street. And then when I started going to school, I basically split my time between Jamaica Estates, and Forest Hills. So I did not, but I'm sorry you were forced to eat German food that you didn't like. Yeah, I actually lived in Germany for about 8 months when I was in college, and first of all, as a vegetarian, is very very challenging, and yeah, it is not my thing. All right, from Karen. Since Donald's been convicted, do you think New York will go ahead with the sentencing, or can that be delayed? It already has been delayed. Yeah, so the one trial in which that was completed and in which he was convicted of 34 felonies, he will not be sentenced. The sentencing has been delayed indefinitely. So there is it was the charge, not the charges, but the sentencing was delayed indefinitely, which leaves open the opportunity to sentence him if and when he's out of the White House. So I think the date that was set is 2030, which is such a joke that I'm not even sure like why they even bothered, to tell you the truth. But if I had been on that jury, I would feel that my work and the risks I took to be on that jury had been utterly disrespected, and I would be furious. I mean, I'm furious that I wasn't on that jury. So there you go. Stuart, what do you have to be thankful for in the political arena now that we've had 3 weeks to digest the election results? Stuart's answer is that we have writers, activists, speakers who continue to defend democracy. That Democrats may understand better that the narrative they tell is as important as the things they do. Yeah, I agree. I think we need more of that. Democrats need to get better at telling stories for sure. But since we're talking about things we're thankful for, I mean, honestly, I'm thankful for the fact that this. I mean, we lost, which is pretty devastating. But this election was extraordinarily close. Donald doesn't have a mandate, and they can lie to us about that as much as they want. But it was very, very, very close, and I think this election revealed a lot of areas where we can improve, and the margins are so small that we don't have to prove them too much. And the other thing too, and this gets lost because Americans don't pay attention to international politics, but the global trends were absolutely catastrophic for incumbent administrations across the board. So the fact that Harris came as close as she did with as little time as she had is pretty extraordinary. So I think I obviously there are things maybe that could have been done, but I kind of I hesitate to go there, because I challenge anybody to tell me in what way Donald ran a good campaign. Like, in what way was Donald's campaign better than Harris's? And I mean, I guess you could say, well, because he appealed to our worst common denominator. He lied constantly and effectively. He used billions of dollars of other people's money to lie to voters, to spread misinformation and disinformation. So yeah, great campaign, Donald. I just, because honestly, I think we need to figure that one out. We need to figure that one out. But again, I am grateful that it was as close as it was, because otherwise it would feel a lot worse, wouldn't it? And it could have been a lot worse. And also remember how the Republicans may have a 1 vote majority, which is kind of amazing. All right, from Angela. Is or is not President Biden beneficiary to the SCOTUS ruling that the president is immune and essentially a king? And if so, why can Biden-Harris institute actions to render Donald illegitimate to take off? I'm not really sure what the end of that question is, but let me start here. It's not that simple. A lot of what the Supreme Court did was specific to Donald because they were on a mission. It was very much like Bush v. Gore. They were on a mission to carve out these privileges and exceptions for one person. However, that having been said, yeah, Biden could absolutely press the point, but he never will. He's an institutionalist, and I just don't. I hate to say this, but even though I thought he did, I don't think President Biden understands the threat we're facing. I really don't, and that saddens me to say that, because we really, really needed him using these 2 months. And he's not. So, wrong person, wrong place, wrong time, which is a drag. Okay, sorry, I just wanna check in on your live comments, see what yeah, according to SCOTUS, Biden could send SEAL Team 6 after Donald, loaded for bear, get away with it. Yeah, but again, is that true? Or, that's Morris folk, pointing that out. Is that true, or is it only Donald who could get away with that? But again, if I were Biden, I'd risk it. You know? Because no matter what, so what's worst case scenario? The Supreme Court says, "No, you can't do that." Biden's not going to prison either. I mean, in the event that he did something like that. So I don't know, hopefully. Hopefully. From Marjorie, if I can see what's to happen from Asia, how can Biden not realize it? I don't know. I'm telling you, these people are institutionalized. They're not just institutionalists. They're institutionalized. They have not been in the real world. And I think so much of what's happening is unthinkable to them that they can't wrap their heads around it. And they have these private relationships with people, and they do not understand what's happening publicly. It's very sad. But Democrats, that's an opportunity for us to put more people in office who actually do understand what's going on, and who actually are willing to fight. Who do understand what we're fighting against and fighting for, you know? Okay, from Vivian. I feel like the war on nonprofits is underreported. What do you think, Mary? I think that the war on nonprofits is underreported, Vivian. Yeah, it's all right. For those of you who are not aware, the House of Representatives just passed something called the Stop Terror Financing and Tax Penalties on American Hostages Act. That sounds like a good thing, right? Yes, we should totally want to stop terror financing. Well, if only that's what the bill was about. This bill would empower the Treasury Department, and particularly the Secretary of the Treasury, like single-handedly, to eliminate the tax-exempt status of any nonprofit that it deems to support terrorism. Deems to support. Who's making that call? To show you how partisan this is, the vote was 219 to 184, I think, and only one Republican voted against it, and only 15 Democrats voted for it. But seriously, 15 Democrats? Like, why? Why did you do that? So this is really a Republican strategy to preempt opposition to Republican policies and encourage self-censorship. In other words, encourage obeying in advance. And by, nonprofits, we're talking about things like the American Civil Liberties Union, for example, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks right-wing terrorist organizations, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a way for the Republican Party to restrict activists and nonprofits from saying or doing whatever is hostile to Republicans. And, so basically any political enemies, anybody who's deemed a political enemy of Donald can be uh, affected by this. So it is very dangerous. And yeah, I don't know. Should have been screamed from the rooftops. But sadly, it was not. But now you guys know. And you could talk about it at whatever's left of the dinner of your Thanksgiving. All right. Biden would never go against the Constitution. He has morals and ethics and decency and character, says Rita. Okay. But what is that going to get us? I mean, I'm not talking about going against the Constitution. I'm talking about making it harder for fascists to take power. I'm talking about doing everything he can to put up hurdles so that these authoritarians can't come to. I mean, basically, it's like, how is it noble to hand the keys of our democracy over to somebody who is not just determined to destroy it, but who is going to destroy it? It's a tricky proposition. I think Democrats just want somebody fighting for them and who understand again what the fight is about, and we don't seem to have people like that. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Because that's sort of Biden's taking a high road that doesn't even flipping exist. So, if you're when you're running, you're saying this person is a fascist, this person is a danger to democracy. What does it tell people that when you then invite him into the Oval Office and shake his hand and say, this is a direct quote, "We'll do anything we can to accommodate you." Yeah, that is not the way to go in my view. I'm not saying that he does anything illegal. But, when one person plays by the rules and the other people don't, guess who has the advantage? All right, what happened to my other question? From Mike. Hello, everything is amazing, Mike. Good to have you here. What do you wish more people were curious about to help them stay hopeful and energized and strong over the challenges of the coming months and years? Well, I wish people were more curious about, like a lot of the things you write about, natural phenomena and but also things like human creativity and why it matters and how art is the whole reason we're here and why that is and how we can use art and nature and curiosity about and science and curiosity about those things to broaden our horizons and also just I don't know, I think all of that makes us better people. And when we're engaged in things that are productive and creative, and tap into the best of who we are, then I think it will make it easier to withstand the challenges, and it might also make it easier to help see other people see things from those perspectives, because I think that's a big part of what's missing, and it's only going to get worse because totalitarian regimes are fatal to creativity and the arts, and we've seen what's happened with the anti-science recklessness that's been trending upward over the last 10 years, probably longer than that, but it's certainly getting worse over the last 8 to 10 years. So, and I'd love to know what you guys think about that question too. But this is not the best forum for that, but maybe I'll start a thread on Substack about that one of these days. From Carol, are you going to write another book, Mary? Well, okay. Yes, but my last book literally just came out in September. So I'm not going to come out. I'm actually working on a novel which had to get shelved for a bit, so I am going to start writing that again. So yeah, I guess yes, I am writing another book right now as we speak. I just keep forgetting about it, which is probably not good. So I'm not going to write another nonfiction book for a bit. I think I need something to kind of take me away from all of this. So fiction is what I'm going to focus on for a while, because as I was just saying, we need those sorts of things in our lives. Let's okay, from Sharon. What is your favorite movie? I recommend we all take a break each day to watch a favorite movie or listen to music that makes you feel good. My favorite movie is the original Razor's Edge with Tyrone Power and Interstellar and Contact. To feel uplifted, I listen to Jeff Buckley and a New Zealand band called Fruit. And I just adopted a dog from a kill shelter. Congratulations on the puppy, Sharon. That's awesome. Everybody, adopt, don't shop. I'm in the market for a new kitten. So that sounds great to me. It's very hard. It's like favorite movie, favorite song. I don't know. There's so favorite book's a little easier for me, but there's so many of them to choose from, and it also like it's a mood thing. I think that Lawrence of Arabia is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I just don't know how many. I don't know how many more times I can watch it. And sometimes like favorite that doesn't necessarily mean the best movie. Although I do think Alien is a great movie. I've seen that more times than I could say. I'm sort of ashamed to say how many times I've seen it. And sometimes it's just like movies that like that just sort of good stupid movies, like So I Married an Axe Murderer, I have to say is one of those movies for me. Um and actually Contact, I watched that. All right, so I got my first degree black belt in Taekwondo. I don't remember when. The late It must have been the late 90s because I got my second degree black belt right before just before my daughter was born. So the day after I got my first degree black belt, I took the day off because it had been a very long day, and had people over after, and I went to the movies and I saw Contact. And I don't even know if I think Contact is a great movie or not, but I associate it with that, so I'm very fond of that movie. And it's funny you mentioned music. I used to listen to music all the time, and I always had something on. Whether in the days when we had albums, I would always have an album on, or a CD, or a cassette, or whatever. And like as soon as music got smaller and was on our ears, it's just easier to forget about it. And I'm actually thinking, even though it seems kind of absurd, and not absurd, I don't mean absurd, but I'm actually thinking of maybe getting a turntable because there's something about that process. I don't know. I mean, obviously I can hook my phone up to my television speakers, but it just seems weird to me. Um, and yeah, I forget. It's so unhealthy. So, yes, thank you for reminding me. I think every day we should all not just do one thing, but more than one thing. Like we should read something every day. We should listen to music every day. Um, you know, feed our souls in some way. Um, sorry, it's taking me a bit. From Jackie. If possible, could President Biden order the arrest of the corrupt Supreme Court members? No. I mean, I wish he'd try. But I think what should absolutely he should order investigations into the vast amounts of corruption. Like, it's just like this is one thing I do not understand. If you get into the position, whether it's a lifetime appointment to the appeals court or the Supreme Court, or you get into the Oval Office, even if you lied, cheated, and stole your way in, oh well, you got in. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Something would be my choice. Do something. I think that, the problem is, there just have been way too many, for too long, people have just taken too much for granted and just assumed that the norms and the, traditions, would be enough to keep us safe, and they weren't, and just people haven't been paying enough attention. From Jurassic Park, did you know that, Los Angeles Port Authority sees 3,000 fake Gibsons? Looks like your uncle isn't getting into the guitar business. Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard this, but yeah, as we know, Donald never met a grift he didn't like, and some company made a Donald guitar, which is hysterical because the guy has never touched a musical instrument in his life. So he's signing these guitars, which is just like what it's like. He signs Bibles. Like what? So bizarre to me. Anyway, Gibson, the guitar company Gibson, sent him a cease and desist because the design of these so-called Trump guitars is just like the Les Paul design, which is, I guess, patented. I mean, you all know what the guitar looks like, right? So now, so now, they're seizing all of the fake guitars. That's great. I like that. Um, okay, so somebody is saying, so I guess, well, you know what? I'm not entirely sure um, what the question is exactly about, but yeah, you guys are having a conversation amongst yourselves, and I'm not quite sure what's happening, but that's okay. Uh, who were the Democrats who voted for this? By this, you mean fascism? I don't think the problem is that Democrats voted for this. I think that the problem is Democrats didn't vote. A lot of Democrats didn't vote. And yes, you could argue by not voting at all, you did vote for this. And I have nothing but contempt for that. I'm sorry. We have the ability, the right to vote is one of the most important things we have. And choosing not to exercise it, especially at a time like this, is just inexcusable. But I think part of the problem is that we don't teach people what that means. Okay, I don't know if I'm hallucinating, but I keep getting the same questions over and over again. Um, or maybe I'm not getting the same questions over and over again. Maybe my thread just keeps sliding back up. But anyway, we don't teach civics properly. I don't think we teach our children what it means and what's important. Um, and then of course we have Citizens United. So, we had 6 people put like, I don't know, billions of dollars into Donald's campaign. 6 people. Because of the Supreme Court, which has been corrupt for a very, very long time. And yes, the one person is asking the same question over and over again. Guys, don't do that. Because it makes the thread hop around a lot, and it's a little harder. And honestly, if I don't answer your question, it's because I don't know the answer, or I don't have an answer, or I don't want to answer it because it's personal. Remember the within reason part? It's subjective, I grant you. So, the fact that people stayed home, I don't know. Very it's and also since like Democrats in every swing state outperformed Harris by a large margin. So that's I I think we need to do a little digging into that. From Treetop, can the Biden administration revoke Musk's security clearance? Um, then when Musk messes up, will it be on I don't know what the second part of that means, but the answer to the first question is he should. I mean, you could argue that Elon Musk interfered in our election. He spent $45 million on disinformation campaigns specifically targeted at Democratic voters in swing states, and he targeted them based on their ethnicity and their race. So, yeah, the idea that this person has government contracts worth billions and billions of dollars, the idea that his now fascist social media platform hasn't been regulated, the fact that he has a security, it's grotesque to me. And it's that's the point at which like who's actually running things? Like who's letting this all slide? Why is this being allowed to happen? I don't know. I don't know. Michelle, why couldn't Dems have asked for a recount? Who would it have hurt just to ask? Again, I don't know. Democrat, I think there would have had to be a compelling reason. But, Donald did. Donald had what 60 lawsuits. And I just don't think it's like there's a way to do what Donald did was wrong, right? Because he wasn't just saying I have questions about this election. He was saying it was stolen from me, and then after losing all 60 lawsuits to prove that it was stolen, in other words, after completely failing to prove it, he continued to say it was stolen from him, right? And nobody's like Kamala Harris isn't doing that, but if there are questions about do you remember there were some dozens of bomb threats called into districts in Georgia, 95% of which were heavily Democratic districts? I don't know, that seems like it's worth looking into, perhaps. Um, and then there's this, sorry, I'm trying to think of what it was, Chuck Schumer who said, last time around there was no peaceful transfer of power. So, we're going to accept this. I'm like, why? Because that again, that normalizes Donald. You can say, listen, as far as we can tell, there was nothing wrong about this election. I mean, I don't know. Like if you have proof, show it to us, fine. But you don't have to normalize Donald. So for example, what I would say is the results are clear. However, the Democrats need to become the party of opposition, because even though Donald was apparently democratically elected, he was an illegitimate candidate. And he used the system to protect himself from being held accountable for his criminality. He perpetuated the big lie. He incited an insurrection against his own government. He was convicted on 34 felony counts. He's out on bail in 3 other jurisdictions, and he's an adjudicated business fraud and rapist. I don't know. Sounds pretty simple to me. Like, the idea of shaking Donald Trump's hand is just so incredibly grotesque to me. Yeah, exactly, Jackie. Donald is a domestic enemy, and that's part of the Constitution too. So, I mean, look, I don't have a solution. It's very complicated, and it's we live in difficult times. I understand that, but I just wish somebody were asking the questions. And I imagine there are, but they need to be asking them more loudly. From Benjamin, this election really killed me spiritually. Do you have any advice on how I can push through this? How are you able to handle this so well? Uh, well, thank you, Benjamin, for that those kind of words. I'm not really handling it well. I'm not. I sorry if I gave you guys that impression. I'm not handling it well. But I'm handling it better than 2016 because 2016 really felt like it came out of nowhere and I was not prepared. And again, I wasn't prepared for this in the sense that I thought he was going to win. I really did think Kamala Harris is going to win. But we've seen a lot of awful things happen in this country. We've seen a lot of people fail us. So I think I have a lot of clarity now, which isn't exactly fun, but it's makes things a little bit easier. So what I would say is, find other things. Like there's no emergency right now. Um, he's not in office until January 20th, and we can all take a break. Well, not all of us. Some of us can take a break, and some of us can focus a little bit more on other things. I am going to go away for a little bit. I'm going to work, of course, but just like being in a different location will help. I think we're so used to having everything feel like an emergency. We're used to everything actually being an emergency that we're still sort of wrapped up in that. So, the other thing, because both here on YouTube and over at Substack, like we have such amazing communities, and hopefully they'll both grow together and more people will be involved in both of them. We're developing more content. I mean, obviously, we'll still do everything to keep you up to date on what is important to know. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. Also looking into developing non-political content, because it can't be all of this all the time, you know? So I also I need to connect with people more. It's hard to do that when you work constantly. So, and just find things that have meaning for you, right? Um, Whatever that is. I don't know what that is for you, but you know, um, we could consider the alternative, right? Things aren't as bad as they could be. And I know it doesn't feel like that necessarily, but we're all here. So, um I know it's hard, but also everybody has to give themselves a break too. I was talking to my best friend today, and unfortunately he doesn't live where I live, so I don't get to see him very often, but we caught up for the first time in a while, and um I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, because I'm trying to look at the thread while trying to be coherent at the same time. Clearly I failed. My apologies. I'll figure out what he and I were talking about, but basically one of the points I was trying to make was just we've been through a lot. Oh, I know what it was. I said to him, it's very difficult to have fought for as long as we've been fighting and to be on the right side of things, you know? Like we are all of us here are on the right side of history, and we pulled out all the stops and we left everything on the field or whatever that expression is, and we lost. And that's hard to take. It's very hard to take. So we need to give ourselves a break because we didn't lose because of us. Okay. First, I just want to take a second to thank all of you for your donations. It's so generous of you, and I've said it before, but it needs to be said more. Your donations help us extraordinarily to keep this going, and again to expand. We want to bring you more voices. We want to bring you more perspectives. We want to bring you more content that is not just all politics all the time. I don't know what that means. From Jeannie, good reminder. Executive orders aren't permanent and only last while that president is in office. So yeah, exactly. Donald will do exactly to Biden's executive orders what he did to Obama's. I mean, he basically shredded Obama's entire legacy. So the same thing will happen here. We already are hearing that he's going to get rid of student loan forgiveness. But like, who's against forgiving student loans? Is it like people who don't go to college so they don't think it's fair? I guess there's some people like that, but it's mostly just rich people. Like getting rid of student loans and stealing from Social Security and Medicare and the Affordable Care Act to fund tax cuts for billionaires and trillionaires just seems, how shall I say this, wrong. I just don't know. But yes, I think though that I don't necessarily think it's about Biden signed executive orders. I want him to be doing sort of more infrastructural things. And I want him in the Senate to be holding hearings. Hold hearings about these horrific nominees for cabinet positions. Hold serious investigation or start serious investigations into the utterly abjectly corrupt Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. Have the FBI look into Brett Kavanaugh. Like, I don't know. Like, why none of this stuff was done is beyond me. But okay, you made the wrong bet. We lost. Do it now, please. And will it make a difference? I don't know. But there's a lot people still don't know. I was very happy to hear that Jack Smith is going to be releasing his report on Donald's involvement in inciting the insurrection against our government. It's just, is that mind-blowing? It is just mind-blowing how we ended up here. Mulling with Mary. Yep. Oh, you know what's another thing that everybody should start to do? Learn something new. It's very good for your brain. And learn something that you can always get better at. Like, if you want to start a sport, tennis is the best sport. And also tennis is something that you can play until you're like 90. And it's something that you can, like, one of the things I most loved about tennis, besides the fact that it's the most brilliant sport ever invented, is that every time you step on a tennis court, you can get better at some aspect of your game. I love that. It's like a musical instrument, or physical activities. I mean, pretty much anything, except maybe like Zumba. I don't know. I don't do Zumba, but juggling, or things that develop balance and agility and hand-eye coordination, or make a different part of your brain work than one you usually work. If you're a numbers person, learn how to paint. I don't know, learn calligraphy. Um, yeah, because learning something new like really helps with your neuroplasticity. From Blockbuster, the current situation could double as a make-believe plot. Yes, if what we're going through right now were a screenplay, nobody would buy it. It's like, that's absurd. Let's see. Vivian, loneliness was killing me, so I've been going to a Unitarian fellowship. That's awesome. Yeah, community. I just saw something. I don't remember where it was, but there was a chart of like how much over the course of their lives, how much time people spend alone. And the older you get, that the bigger that number gets. Like it's a terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And yes, I have been way too isolated myself. So that connecting with real human people in person is really hugely important. Um, so whatever it is, joining something, a knitting group, whatever, a reading group. I have a friend who a few years ago actually started taking painting classes at a museum not too far where she lives. Um, you know, it's and a lot of stuff is free. You don't have to obviously if you knit, you have to buy the needles and the yarn, but it doesn't cost anything to sit in the knitting circle and get, instruction. I think the same thing with the painting class. She needs to buy the supplies, but the class itself is free. Um, from Radio Durans, who's the scariest guy in Donald's orbit? Stephen Miller freaks me out. Mhm. Yeah, he's vile. He's probably the most blatantly vile person. Um, like it's just it's like why somebody like that has yeah. I mean that honestly for me that was one of the biggest reasons not to vote for Donald was the people that he was going to surround himself with, and here we are. The thing about what's his name though is that he's the scariest on an individual level, and yes, he will hurt a lot of people and he will do a lot of damage, but he won't have near the power to do as much damage as somebody like what's her name? Hey, Tulsi Gabbard or Pete Hegseth or Bob Kennedy. But they're all awful. All awful. I don't know who that is. He just cared if he doesn't go. I don't know. From Dax, does everyone know November is the month to write books, novels in 1 month? Really? I'm helping with a ridiculous one right now. It's fun. I didn't know that November was the month to write a book or a novel in 1 month. But honestly, 1 month might be pushing it, but I guess it's doable if you have the time. In fact, William Faulkner wrote a book called As I Lay Dying, which is extraordinary. William Faulkner, um, and Toni Morrison are the two greatest American novelists. Period. End of story. William Faulkner was I learned of his work first, so I have this particular fondness for him. I read The Sound and the Fury when I was 16, and it kind of changed my life at this very critical time. So I don't choose between him and Morrison because they're both just the most insanely brilliant people. But again, just I have this particular fondness for Faulkner. And As I Lay Dying, like if you're interested in reading Faulkner, don't start with The Sound of the Fury. Don't start with Absalom Absalom. I'd say start with As I Lay Dying. It is brilliant, and he wrote it in 6 weeks. So I didn't realize that people did that in November. So cool. Gauntlet Throne, except it's November 28th. I'll have to can I do that in December? Would that be breaking any rules if I tried to do that in December? Yeah. From Everyday Disruptions, I do think this is a call for artists. Historically, artists have played a very active role in raising awareness. Yeah, and difficult. Yes, absolutely, 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 absolutely. From Susan. Hello, Susan, one of our awesome moderators. Being a Star Trek fan, would you ever write a science fiction novel? Oh my god, absolutely. I actually have this, I don't know if I'm gonna do it or not because, I'm mostly interested in, I guess you would call it literary fiction. However, I have this sort of project in mind because, um, I've written 3 books right now, and all of them are nonfiction. Which if you said 10 years ago that I would have written 3 books, all of them were nonfiction, I wouldn't have believed you. I have always written fiction, so I'm thinking of, like, writing a book in every genre. And because Star Trek was not Star Trek, but, science fiction was my first great love in literature. I read everything Isaac Asimov and Ray Bradbury wrote. I read all of the greats. So I would be absolutely up for that. There's nothing like some world building to get me very excited. So definitely something I've thought about. Also, just that reminds me. I don't know if you guys know this, but mm, maybe at the beginning of this year, my friend Bob Seska and I started a podcast together. Bob is also a podcaster. He's had the Bob Seska show for years now. It's on Patreon. I strongly recommend you check it out. And I was on his show, and we knew that we both love Star Trek, and so the show was over, and we started just was at the end, and we started talking about science fiction, and we were talking about how so much of Star Trek was prescient and is still relevant to some of the conversations we have today. And I said, let's start a podcast. And we did. And it's called Trek Politics. And we were just getting going. And we had Tim Russ on, and Todd Stashwick, and Jerry Ryan, and Terry Metellus, and Kirk Acevedo. And our next guest was going to be Mary McDonnell. And we had all these phenomenal people lined up. And then the writers actors strike happened. So we put it on hiatus in solidarity. And things got busy. But in January, Trek Politics is making its grand reopening, I guess, on Mary Trump YouTube channel. So very excited about that. So that's what I mean by, just new content that just takes things in a different direction. And just sort of broadens our horizons a little bit. Oh, it's 7:00. That went fast. Sorry, there was so much time looking for questions, but the thread goes by very quickly, and I wasn't able to keep up. But first of all, and most importantly, thank you all for being here with me tonight. I know for a lot of people this was a tough day. And for others, it's always nice to have a break because I think on holidays like Thanksgiving and Passover and Christmas, you maybe end up spending more time with people than you're used to. So it's nice to have a little break. But anyway, I was happy to to have this space and to share it with all of you. So thanks always to our amazing moderators who keep this community safe. Thank you to all of your amazing questions. I'm sorry I didn't get to more of them. And again, to people who donate, means a great deal to all of us here. And to my fellow Nerd Avengers and to Mercedes for keeping the ship running, or whatever, the show running, the ship afloat. You know, I couldn't do this without the nerds and Mercedes, so thanks to all of them. And that's it. So I think it's Thursday. I keep thinking it's Sunday. It's not. So, you know, I'm not gonna have as many videos as normal over the next couple of days, but there will be videos coming out Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday we're back to our usual. And then obviously next week we'll be back to the nerds Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's it. To those of you who celebrated today, I hope you continue to have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And to those of you who don't, I hope you have a lovely evening. And I will see you back here for the live nerds on Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern. And, you know, don't forget, like the videos, subscribe to the channel, and there's a bell that if you click on the bell, you'll be notified when new episodes drop. And just remember, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the channel. It's just a way of supporting us and helping us. We're at almost 207,000 subscribers now, and it just helps us get helps the algorithm pick us up and spread the word more. So it really, really does help us. All right, that is it. Thank you all so much. And again, I'll see you Tuesday. Have a wonderful long weekend. In the meantime, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.